This is a man that's a solid candidate for the congressional office. I'd like to introduce to you Jay Snelling.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. Thank you so much, and it's such a privilege to be here. 50 years ago, my parents, Maury and Benzie Allen, started our small men's clothing store in downtown Traverse City, creating sort of the American dream. So when you take a look at the years working as a clothing store, as Art talked about, with the motto, the one men's store that really does care, we are survivors. And if you look in today's society, it's the core of our business in our state, with 190,000 small businesses that are the backbone, the core of our region. They are the part of the Michigan economy that sometimes gets forgotten about. As you know, the captain's quarters is the lifeblood of our family. We were employed there, we worked hard, we were involved with our community, and we were able to survive. My parents taught us that work ethic, bought their first home in 1966 for $21,000 on State Street, which they're still at today, provided paychecks, and worked for the middle class as a good, solid family. But today those opportunities are shrinking because of significant challenges that we're facing, because of burdens of regulation, burdens of government, and burdens of taxation. Washington bureaucrats are forcing us to lay off employees, and businesses are shuttering their doors. They cannot afford to stay with the regulations, they cannot afford to stay with the rules, and these job-killing tax increases. Our nation was built on families taking risks, putting the American dream moving forward, creating jobs for their employees and their families. This is what it's all about: risk, reward, and the ability to move our nation forward. You believe it, I believe it, and that is why we're here tonight. In the winter of 1978, I snowshoed in with my dad during the blizzard and sold my first pair of trousers. And so as I learned the craft, I can tell you that the astronaut McDivitt is a 44 regular, Congressman Dave Camp is a 41 long, Bill Milliken is a 15.5 33. I learned the craft, and it was a great experience being in the National Guard, going to our local schools, and being here for 50 years. But unfortunately, because of the challenges we're facing in Washington, the regulatory environment, there are going to be fewer and fewer of these small businesses. We have got a president that does not believe in the American dream. We have a president that does not believe that we need to create businesses. He's trying to make it harder. The American dream is what our risk and rewards are about. And it is amazing to me when you sit down and take a look at Barack Obama, talking about it in business, saying that you didn't build your business. It's unbelievable for those like our family that showed up early in the morning, saying you didn't build it. For those that put in their own savings, you didn't build that. He has built a government. He's built a government that is fighting our families. He's building a government that is fighting our small businesses. And we have to change the direction America is headed. Unfortunately, these last 7 years, we have seen burdens, taxation, over-regulation, and government interference at every level. The government is crushing the American dream, and the most obnoxious obstruction is the Obamacare. It has destroyed our health care as we know it. It is creating a never-ending sea of regulation, burden, confusion, and increased cost on small businesses and families alike. Washington is spending way too much, taxing way too much, and it has made it too costly for families to work hard, to understand the difficult regulatory environment, and much too difficult to achieve the American dream. Hardworking families in Michigan are under attack, and bureaucrats, Washington insiders, and we have to stand up to Washington and make sure that the working families are put first. Enough is enough, and it's time we have a common sense government that will drive our nation forward, and that is why I'm running for Congress. I believe that we have to have a conservative voice for Upper Michigan to help undo the damage that Barack Hussein Obama has done, and as we talked about it at our dinner table, it's going to take all of us to drive this nation forward to create jobs for the families in North America, in Northern Michigan. It's time we have a government that lived up to our tax system and a regulatory system that is fair and balanced. And it will continue to work hard and fight for those businesses to drive our nation forward. Washington has lost touch, and we need to get on track with where we are as a state and as a nation. We need to secure our borders, and it's very difficult to learn the challenges that are going on, whether it be at the Sulaks, whether it be with the illegal immigrants coming down with job killing and making things difficult in Washington. We also need to get control of spending, reduce the struggles that we are facing in the very complicated tax code system. In Congress, I will fight to balance the budget, pay down the debt, cut wasteful spending, cut out the Washington middleman that's ruining our economy. I believe deeply in America, and I'm proud to have been one of the youngest Eagle Scouts in our council, and I think, Corey, now you're what, 3 days away from turning 18? 6, so you've got to just get your 6 days to get your Eagle Scout. And so we have to encourage you to get that done. As a veteran, I spent time in the National Guard protecting, and I'm very proud of what we were able to accomplish as a state in working to keep our country on track and working most recently in veterans. In high school, I worked on a McManus cherry farm, and as you know, the richness of the first district, I am always amazed when you start looking at the grapes, the cherries, the beef, the corn, and all the opportunities. But we've got to get Washington out of the way on the farm. They are creating so many challenges in Washington, whether it be the Farm Bill or the struggles that are going on there, and we've got to get our nation back on track. As Art talked about, the first district is the second largest district east of the Mississippi. 32 counties, running from Ironwood all the way down to a town of Free Soil and all the way over to Harrisville. And my wife and I have had the privilege of traveling and traversing so many different areas. And so we talk about the chicken dinner circuit, we talk about the opportunity to be out and about. But I want to tell you, we've got some of the best small businesses and families that are there. Whether it be Platt's Meat Market, which we enjoyed at the Lutheran Hall in Rapid City, Sakeley's Chocolate to get a sugar fix on the way back from the Upper Peninsula, the Christopher Columbus Hall in Sault Ste. Marie having such wonderful spaghetti, or recently the corned beef dinner in Leland. It was a wonderful and diverse place. Our kids are doing great and really enjoying this opportunity. When you sit down and take a look at daughter Meredith at 17 asking questions about how we're going to strategize, how we're going to move forward, she is just finished up Calc 3 or Calc 4 and is looking at college and her Girl Scout Award and doing very well. Daughter Amanda is now 11 years old and sold 1,700 boxes of Girl Scout cookies, which was quite an ordeal for Mrs. Allen and myself, getting that sort of underway. So we shipped them to units in Afghanistan, and it was just rewarding to see her move forward. And then many of you met our young boy Mark, who is 4 years old and is all boy all the time. So I'm assuming by the time Suzanne and I get home, we will have the house in terror and we'll be doing sword fighting. But this is why we are running. We have to move our nation forward. We have to allow for those traditional values. We have to get our country back on track. We are facing so many different challenges, whether it be in how we're going to create the next generation of jobs, how we are going to create this terrible deficit that we have in track, what we are going to be doing in regards to defense, and how we are going to take care of our veterans. I want to thank you very much for the opportunity to be here this evening. It has been such a privilege to work with the Benzie County Republican Party, and it's a privilege to be out and about with you this evening. Thank you for the honor. Now, I understand we have some time for some questions. Is that sort of what we want to do next, Art? So, and so does anybody have any quick questions that are out there?
Index cards on the table.
Great.
Does
anyone have questions just that would like to stand up and ask? No
wow.
questions at all?
I'll stand up.
Thank you, sir. How are you?
Very good.
Did you have a good day today?
Pretty good.
Wonderful.
Beautiful day out there in northern Michigan. What do you propose on doing about our nation's borders? We have, the threat of terrorism coming into the United States, unknown and known diseases and whatnot.
First issue is we are going to have to build a wall. And then the other big area that I am exceptionally concerned about is what are we going to be doing to secure the SULACs in that area. If you take a look at what we've got to do to build the next SULACs, and then also sort of the border issues that are going on there, that is the first area. And then the next component is then we are going to have to work very diligently on the people that do not like our nation. And whether those be terrorists from internally or abroad, we have to take and secure those areas. So thank you.
Thank you.
My question is,
Sure.
we have a large Arab population in the States now. It's a Christian country. They come with their methodology of
Sure.
religion, and it's penalized everybody. I've seen it in the Detroit area, Metro Park, and it's just a big damn shame.
Sure.
Something's got to be done about it, otherwise we're going to lose money.
The first issue is we got to secure our borders, and that is the issue. He was commenting about the large populace of Arabs in the area around Dearborn. And the first issue we've got to do is secure borders.
It's not only Dearborn. I mean, those guys have been there a long time. Minneapolis is
True.
just a shame. And they steal everything they can steal.
Appreciate your question. Thank you. Art?
So Jason, let me throw you a softball.
Sure.
How is your latest role as senior advisor to the Veterans Affairs going to help you if you get into Washington?
Well, the first issue is that I was able for working on a bipartisan basis to get a lot of things turned around. The first area is that we were 53rd behind Guam and Puerto Rico on our federal reimbursement. And thanks to Ray and a lot of other people, we were able to get policies put in place to start modernizing the intake process. And so we had a lot of very good things going on within the veterans organizations, but no consistent management. And so the challenge with that is that we had uneven intake processes between the different organizations, whether they be on the county level, like here in Benzie, which is partnered with Grand Traverse, or with our organizations like the VFW, the American Legion, the DAV. So getting that on board, we were able to move up into the mid-40s. We started working very diligently to get questions asked, whether they be with our local sheriffs, whether they be with our local senior citizen organizations or on the statewide, to ask the question, are you a veteran and did you serve? Then we also worked in a lot of areas creating awareness, because there are so few people that were aware of the benefits, whether it be programs that date back to Lincoln's second inaugural by Andrew Johnson. He put the programs in for widow's pension, aid and attendance, the aspect of the GI Bill, and making those awareness programs out. So we did very, very well on those areas. We have a long way to go, but with the governor's help and our legislative partners, we've been able to move the ball forward significantly. Dan?
I've never heard this been addressed before. But why do we let our country, let foreigners and plus our own people in this country step on the flag and burn it? And how come it never comes up in Congress? It never, and how come we don't have English as our language?
Yeah, I appreciate those. We'll work at it. It's just so sad.
I know you're going to be new in there
Yeah,
and all
I mean,
this. And,
man, when you
but
start taking a look at
these
the
are
men and
never
women.
addressed.
Yeah, Jason, it seems like we've had a majority finally in the House and the Senate of Republicans the last couple of years, and it feels like in almost every possible area, traditional family values, the economy, the veterans affairs, everything, we've taken steps back instead of ahead. Why do you think that is? And what do you see as you, as one guy, can do to kind of help turn that thing around?
Well, the first issue, you got to get a budget. And so what's going on right now is we're managing by continuing resolutions. These continuing resolutions are allowing us to fund programs without debate. So we've got to get control of the budgetary process, because there is no internal discussions on what the role, the values, and the directions that the United States of America has had. We ended up going into a crisis mode, and so that's the first thing we've got to stop. And then start having hardcore discussions about where we're going to be headed in regards to the budget, where we're going to be headed on unencumbered liabilities like the $19 trillion, $17 trillion worth of pension liabilities, debts that are running someplace around $17 trillion. Then from there, I think we'll get at least a direction to go. Sorry.
What are your views on Common Core education?
You gotta stop it. You gotta stop Common Core. And when you sit down and take a look at how this was all laid out and the sort of the elites that were making those decisions, it's a very, very bad situation. We know that in the jobs for the future, we are going to need a lot more skilled trades. We are going to need a lot more tool makers. So let me give you a statistic. The average workforce in the big three, which is still one of the top taxpayers, 1 in 5 taxes are out of that. The average age of the workforce is about 56 years old. And so we know that on average, a typical toolmaker in General Motors with some seniority, or Ford or Chrysler, is making someplace around $70,000 to $80,000. Those are good salaries and good wages, and those are the types of things that are going to keep our nation competitive. And so we've got to put an emphasis on going back to traditional, shop, making sure that our kids are able to compete on a worldwide basis. Thank you. Sir?
This November, how do you intend to beat either Cannon or Johnson? This is a targeted seat. The Democrats are going to dump in certainly $2 million. Hopefully the RNC is going to pour some money in as well. But how will you be able to fight against that, especially if Johnson or Cannon will attempt to tar you with some of the perceived negatives of our own standard bearer for president?
I think it's going to be a lot of prayer, a lot of hard work, and a lot of chicken. And I'm going to need everybody's help to move forward. This is a very precious, important seat for us to maintain because of the issues in Washington. And we have to have the tradition of maintaining this as a Republican seat, and it's going to be all hands on deck. And so, whatever you can do, give us a call. And I think there is going to be a lot of fall parades. There's going to be a lot of door-to-door, a lot of stuff in envelopes, and we're going to require everybody's help.
Benzie County is going to be Republican for...
I know, because we got a great team here. And look at this dinner tonight. Isn't this wonderful? And this is going to be the core of how we're going to drive the election forward and move our state forward.
Last question.
Jason, what are your plans for Obamacare?
Well, I mean, my parents, as we talked about personal responsibility. Okay, so we worked hard, and so we saved up money for health care, and we also then had a overriding policy. And so in my mind, you've got to give people the responsibility of taking care of their long-term health. And part of that is saving money for health care and having some sort of a backup policy for those major catastrophes that you can't anticipate, whether they be some sort of heart or serious illness.
Excellent.
Thank you for the privilege to be here.